I'm willing to wager that David from the David and Goliath story, he never played with himself. I don't think he did. Because how could you beat a giant? How could you beat somebody like that with a single rock? How could you beat somebody like that, a giant with a rock? It's about your spirit, right? It wasn't about his physical strength. It was about his spiritual strength. Because God sees what is in our hearts and our souls. He doesn't see always, like, of course he does see the physical, but he wants to help people understand the internal, and he wants your heart, right? He wants what's inside you. And I was thinking about this topic for the last day or so, just kind of thinking about ideas. And because sometimes, when you have ideas, you'll have like 5 or 6 kind of poopy ideas until you come across 1 or 2 really solid ideas. And for this 30 days semen retention video, this that I want to talk about, where you can command the room like a king, you can conquer your goals and your ambitions like a lion. 30 days in, most men will never know what that's like. And I made a video a while back called 90 Days Will Make You Godlike, okay? And I stand by that. I think if you actually have proper intentions, if you have the intentions to grow closer to God, and you're not doing this just to attract women and money, but you understand that this is going to be a byproduct of that practice, then I don't think you're going to have anything to worry about. However, and by the way, welcome to another Semen Retention Sunday episode here on the Regal Change account. And something that I've really wanted to talk about for a while now is what's going to happen in those first 30 days. I've had many men reach out to me recently, and they've been asking, tell me why I can't get past 30 days. Tell me why I can't get past 2 weeks. Tell me why, tell me why, tell me why. Well, it depends on your situation. It depends on what you're going through. But at the same time, you've got to know what your triggers are. Healing in of itself is like a musical song, right? Healing and the purification path in of itself is something that it's a process. And to commit to a life of purity is going to take excessive consideration of what it's like to be you. Now, this is how I define meditation. Meditation is noticing what it's like to exist as who you are as a human being. Because if you don't know how to do that, if you don't know how to recognize what it's like to exist as who you are, then of course you're never going to have a proper relationship to yourself. But with semen retention, you're automatically going to have a closer relationship to yourself, because you're going to be the more that you discipline your sexual urges, right? You're going to be more likely to discipline other areas and other aspects of your life. And you're going to get to a point to where you might become such a big threat to the demonic forces of the world that they will do anything and everything to try to stop you, to try to suffocate you, to try to constrict you, to try to silence you from moving forward. And what's crazy is how 30 days of semen retention, most men will never experience this, but almost all of the ones that I've seen that do experience this kind of a thing, they're the ones that are experiencing the most kind of spiritual attacks, usually. And it's because they can control themselves. And it's because they know how to be grounded in themselves. They know how to live in accordance to the law, statutes, and commandments of God to the best of their ability. And they know that they need to have a relationship with God if they're to live a fulfilling life on this earth. When you give everything to God, when you give everything, you give your, I was going to say your sexuality, and at first that sounded kind of strange, but now that I think about it, it's actually making a lot of sense. You give your sexuality to God. You give all of your concepts about reality to God. You give your desires to God. You give your finances to God. You give your relationships to God. You give everything that you have. Like, God, if it's not with you, if this is not in accordance to your will, I don't want to do it. Like, I don't want it to be a part of my life. And he's going to automatically start to maneuver things the way that it needs to happen so that you can live a more prosperous life in accordance to his will and what he wants for you. And semen retention, when you get to 30 days, like, why are people not able to do this? Right? Let's start with that first. The reason that most people cannot do this is because they don't have control over themselves. Or they have had so many types of lustful experiences in the past that to try to overcome these all at once is going to be a hindrance in of itself to the hindrance of lust in itself. So what do I mean by this? Well, if you are somebody, for example, who's had a lot of promiscuous experiences, whether you're male or female, and specifically we're talking for the males today in today's video, but if you are somebody that has had a lot of different kinds of experiences with a lot of different kinds of people in a sexual manner, you're automatically going to have a certain level of programming of lust in your mind. Okay, and the kinds of attacks that you're going to have to endure and the kinds of purifications that you're going to have to endure following this and following these experiences is going to be, it might be so much that you don't know even what you're about to go up against. You're battling a psychological juggernaut. You're battling a spiritual juggernaut, okay? The spiritual aspect of your life is so vital to understanding everything else that it, like, yes, there's a practical quality to semen retention, and there's a practical quality to understanding the ways in which how to move in the world, and it just makes sense, right? It's on a practical level. Not having sex with somebody unless you're planning to have a family with them, if you think about it practically, that makes sense, right? It doesn't really make sense for you to have sex just whenever and however, or to play with yourself, okay? This is one of the reasons why I don't think David played with himself. Like, how could you have such a strong spirit enough to go up against a freaking giant and be playing with yourself at night? I mean, most guys nowadays are so consumed by corn and the corn industry that they don't even know what it's like to not have corn in their life. I mean, you can just go online at any time, and you could go on Instagram. Instagram is basically like soft corn at this point too. Like, it's just wild what some women will do to just be seen on Instagram and get likes on Instagram. But that's just the way that the world is now. You know, that's just the way that it is. And they are openly trying to get the attention of males while simultaneously saying that they don't need men. And yet that's all that they live for. That's all that they live for. They only see the utility insofar as the utility concerns their desire and need for validation. But they don't want to admit that. That's the thing. They don't want to admit that, most of the women out here. They just don't. And so you have to realize that as a man, especially in today's day and age in this world, when you are somebody that can actually have a little bit of control of your urges, and look, like if you have to relapse and whatnot, like if you can't make it to 30 days, like you just feel like, oh, I can't do this. Well, number one, look at how your story, like look at the story that you're telling yourself. And number two, if you can't, don't beat yourself up about it. Okay? Don't be so upset that you can't beat yourself up. Also, I'm sorry for the I feel a little bit nasally. I'm not sure how it sounds on the other side, but I've got a mild runny nose, and my sore throat is almost gone. Like I can swallow pretty good now without it hurting, but there's still kind of a lump. And so I'm just on the recovery process and end of this, whatever this was. I'm pretty sure that this was a just, you know, if you want to look at it at a practical level, it was just the flu. But if you want to look at it on a spiritual level, this was a python spirit. Somebody mentioned that in my last video. And yes, that's exactly what I think that this was. But anyway, we can get into that another time. But when you have the ability to control yourself, and you have the ability to really ascertain what you need to do and have the discipline to do it, when you can put your life in order, this is going to put you on a fast track to being able to conquer anything in life, to attain anything in life. And it's not really always about attaining things, but it's about being able to notice how you do and how you go about these things. Because just the act of noticing is the meaning behind your experiences. This is what meditation does, right? But also prayer is going to be very important. And without prayer, you're not going to be able to have that closer connection to God. Without being in the spirit and the truth, you're not going to be able to grow closer to God. Now, you might be going, I've had guys reach out to me, oh, I did 30 to 90 days of semen retention, and I didn't see any benefits. Okay, well, what are your intentions? And they almost always say, well, it was to get girls and to make money. It's like, well, bada bing, bada boom, buddy. Like, that's the reason. You're not actually doing this for the betterment of your soul. You're doing this for the benefit of flesh. And God's not going to reward that, man. Like, he's just not. And I wouldn't say also that you need to like commit to this this style of life for indefinitely, you know, because hopefully down the line every man will be able to create a relationship with a woman that values him, that treasures him, that cherishes him, etc. But at the same time, like, you know, you've got to recognize that this is going to be, it's going to be a process. Like, you might relapse, but you might be able to just, you know, go full force, full-fledged into it and make it just a lifestyle. By this point, this is a lifestyle for me, and I've been doing this for over 3 years. And you know, I've attracted more and more better people and better things and better opportunities, etc. And I know that even though the devil hates that I'm making this kind of progress, and like that python spirit wants to constrict me from going out and being the better person, I know that if I pray in the name of Jesus Christ, that the heads of my enemies, in the spirit specifically, will be cut into pieces, and the fire of the Holy Spirit will surround them and will burn them with righteousness. Because I don't want to actually hurt people, right, physically, but this is a spiritual war. This is a spiritual thing that we have to look at, and you might be tested most often in those first 30 days, okay? A lot of people go through a lot of different trials in those first 30 days. The reason that many people cannot get past 30 days on their semen retention journey is simply because they're too in the world still. And that's just the fact of the matter. You're too in the world, man. You're still too much in your flesh. And it's not a bad thing. I'm just saying that that's what it is. Like, I don't think you should, like, I'm not here to bully you. I'm not here to punish you. I'm not here to judge you. I'm just saying that that's what it is. And if you want to really change, then you've got to prioritize God. You have to prioritize God. You've got to make sure that you are living in the accordance to the law, statutes, and commandments. The first and most important is to love your God with all your mind and all your heart and all your soul. If you can do that, everything else will fall into place. All right? So, with all that being said, I hope this message was useful and insightful for you. If you do want to join the Regal Change Academy group that we have, but you also want to schedule a 15-minute call that is for free, that we can meet with you, one of the Regal Change Academy members on the team. We can meet with you and we can see how you'll fit in, if this is going to be something for you. That's available as an option. Or if you want to do one-on-one sessions with me, feel free to reach out to me at regalchange@gmail.com or DM me on X or Instagram. All right. Peace be with you all. Until next time.